this doesn't apply to everybody. But the generation coming up, it's more like, what are you going to do for me? Us, millennials, are fluid. We could adapt to change. But then you have a generation coming up. It's very much remote work, more pay, work from
how
home,
much can you pay me?
unlimited vacation. They don't care if you are going to match their 401. Screw you. I don't even know what that is. I was first generation born immigrant here, so I don't have any family besides my immediate family. But my background, just so you know, I only have a high school diploma. So I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree. But I knew what hard work consisted of.
Do you think without all that experience, though, you wouldn't have seen that opportunity?
Honestly, till this day, people are still in that boo-hoo, look what happened, like phase still, to where I'm like, no. Let's get up and let's move on.
Welcome to the REimagined podcast.
All right, guys, welcome. I have Linda here, CEO, entrepreneur, tech industry, and I'm so excited to have you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, super fun. So I want to start today with talking a little bit about your startup here. You're CEO of FyrstUp. And I'm more interested in why with a Y in first. Is there a reason for that?
That's such a tech thing.
Okay.
Just so you know. And plus the domain was available. Let's be honest.
It.
Okay.
It's catchy. It caught my
is.
attention.
Yeah. I mean, it is very much a tech thing. I've been in tech for so long, so when a Y in anything makes it sound a little more fun. But okay, so jumping into FyrstUp. So FyrstUp. Okay, let's back up a little bit. You run a brokerage.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you ever had this. But have you ever walked into a broker's office that had a whiteboard?
Got two of them.
Do you guys? Okay. And it has properties that are coming to market, maybe open house opportunities, what's in escrow, all of that fun stuff.
Listing, pipeline,
there you
escrows.
Go. So you still have it, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, he still has it. Okay.
I'm getting pitched.
No,
right
that's
now.
fine. No. So we have taken that concept and we have put that into an app to really streamline the way business should be done. Because people that are only going to see what's coming up to market, or actually even think about this, you might have your weekly broker meetings.
Right, every Monday.
Every Monday, whether it's virtual or in office, I'm not sure. But do you get 100% attendance every time?
No.
Okay, so what happens to those agents that are not listening in? They're missing out on possibly info from you, buyer wants and needs, properties coming to market. So it's almost a disservice to agents and to their clients to not have an app that really streamlines the way we communicate pre-market inventory.
Yeah.
Literally pre-market. And so we have taken the whiteboard concept, put it into an app, digitized it, to where agents are able to enter the pre-market inventory. So 123 Main Street's coming to market in 2 days.
Yeah.
This is the price, bedroom, bathroom, square footage. Here are some photos, and that's it. And it push notifies everyone within the broker's office of what's coming to market.
Interesting.
That's one feature. Because of my MLS background, which we'll talk about, I've also implemented a tool that is never used in the MLS, which is called reverse prospecting. And I've now allowed agents to enter buyer data, buyer wants and needs. We match buyer data to pre-market inventory. And we notify both agents of a potential opportunity if there happens to be a match.
Within that brokerage
Within the brokerage only.
Got it.
We've also incorporated just in December because one of our larger accounts is a Century 21 affiliated #1 in the world. Asked for an open house opportunity. Like if we're doing a broker open or we need someone to host an open house on behalf of a listing agent, could we put that in the app and communicate that as well? So we now have that in there, which is huge because when you have a new agent that really doesn't have a book of business, this is a wonderful opportunity for them to ask to host a listing.
That's what we push the most.
To get
grabbing
business.
open houses.
So our goal is really to, I'm just going to say this. You don't make your money off your top producing agents. No. You make money off agents that are just getting into the business. And what we're trying to do is get those agents producing. So it's a win-win for them and you as far as the ROI side.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so
you almost
that's what the app does.
We talk about time efficiency a lot within our organization, and you almost compacted 3 areas we spend a lot of time in one application.
Seriously, it's crazy. And what's fascinating is every broker I speak to is like, "Oh, that's against the MLS rules and clear cooperation." That's the word. clear cooperation.
It's funny you bring that up because someone raised their hand and be like, well, does MLS allow you to do that? I said, I'll pay every fee. It's not the Department of Real Estate. It's the MLS.
Yeah, I
right?
really don't care. Obviously, there's rules, but the great thing about like running at MLS for 10 years is, yes, there's rules, but there's always loopholes around the rule,
Right.
and you're playing in the same sandbox,
Yeah.
and they can't get mad. And so the rule is this. You're the broker. You own everybody's listing here.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you could advertise as
Even
much
though
as
they
you
don't
want.
think so.
They probably don't. But you could advertise as much as you want internally.
Right.
The rule...
And why wouldn't you? That's the whole point of a
Absolutely.
brokerage.
The rule is advertising to the public. And now you define, well, what's the public mean?
Yeah.
Well, the public means anyone out of Nico's ecosystem,
Yeah.
out of here. So that means, great, I can market all day long internally and buyer match all day long and grow your market share by agents because you're going to recruit agents, or I like to say attract agents, and then you're going to retain talent because you have a tool that really allows them to leverage their business in a way that makes them competitive.
Is it interactive too? You can communicate on the app?
So, no, what I could do though is click on Nico, and then it will say, do you want to text, call, or email?
Got it,
And then go
okay.
that way. I don't want the app to be a tool for communicating.
Yeah,
It's a
understood.
collaborative tool.
Yeah.
But I still want to force you guys to talk to each other.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
So it's a platform.
it is a platform.
My only
What suggestion
question
do you
that I
have?
have, well, kind of a suggestion, right? It's
Yeah.
more of, look, raised by old school 100% Italians, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're still your, Italian jumpsuits, manila paperwork that my dad was an attorney. So you take the old school mentality of, writing the whiteboards,
Yeah.
which you see too, and you see how busy they are,
Yeah.
and are people actually even seeing them or reading them? But then you put it in this tech platform, which is I think is genius, and I'm highly interested and support it. How do you get the older generation to buy in to use this app, and they're like can barely work their remote at home?
In order
Making
for
it simple. Maybe it's just 'cause I haven't seen the
first
interface
all,
of it.
This is my background is tech. I have a tech background for 20 years, and a lot of tech apps or tech company, let's say apps, they want to entertain you with all their bells and whistles. They want to what they look at is user engagement and how long they could keep you on the app. So what we did is I studied client patterns and user patterns, and we want to eliminate agents spending more than 60 seconds on the app.
Yeah.
Every agent, when I used to go into broker offices, and I introduced something within the MLS, or I would hear agents or brokers say, here, we have another tool we're launching, and an agent would be like, great, another thing we have to adopt, right? Another tool in the toolbox that's not going to be used. Those were like piercing words. I wanted to make sure that FyrstUp was never getting that. Like the only reason why you're using FyrstUp and turning on notifications is because there's a buyer match. A property is coming to market, and you should be aware of it because no one else is seeing it. And there's an opportunity for you to host an open house.
Yeah.
That's it. And so we follow, and we've studied patterns for so long, and user engagement. And so if agents are on there for more than 60 seconds, it's because they're freaking confused.
Yeah, they don't know how to use it.
They don't know how to use it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Jared and I do is we really dumb it down. Like, how do you add a listing? Oh, the plus symbol. That's how you add it. I mean, that's what you do. What's our profile? Oh, it's the single person over here. What's buyers? Oh, it's multiple people over here. It's very, very basic.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we take feedback like yours, and we make sure that we test it, we incorporate it, and see if it's something that we need to actually make it, a part of our app.
That's awesome.
But I could definitely say that FyrstUp was an idea from an agent, tested and built by agents. Like, we literally used agents to test it. And it really supports the agent business. So I'm just the person behind the scenes kind of running it.
That's awesome.
But everybody else actually made it.
Well, it didn't start with FyrstUp, which will transition us a little bit
Yeah.
because my brokerage is going to jump into FyrstUp, and I'm super excited about it. But what I like talking about here today and in knowing you a little bit is, and we don't have to talk about this specifically, but you had other tech startups similar to probably this one. What I want to unpack within this question is what it takes to build something, right? There's starts of things, and then maybe something fades away because it's either doesn't work out, it's not successful, financially can't sustain it, or just maybe employee or ownership difficulties. And tech space is like, there's like a crazy percentage of tech companies actually being successful, and it's like crazy low as far as the rate
I love
of
tech. It's
success.
so lucrative.
Yeah.
It's so you could build and scale and reach the masses. Like sky is the limit.
Yeah. But I guess my question though is, talk a little bit about just trials and errors and what it takes to build a company along with your partner, and maybe past partnerships, current partnerships. And it's not really specific to just tech or just that build of that one company. It's just in general. How would you answer that question?
It's going to be a long answer.
I like it.
But okay, so my background is tech. I've had the privilege of working with top 500 Fortune companies, actually top 100 or top 10, you could say, because I worked with Apple. But my background, just so you know, I only have a high school diploma. So I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree. But I knew what hard work consisted of. And we kind of talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was what my parents demonstrated. I'm a first-generation immigrant here. My parents, I was first-generation born immigrant here. So I don't have any family besides my immediate family here. Everyone else is overseas. So I have Canada, Australia, and Germany. So coming here and knowing that I absolutely I did high school, loved it, great, was fun. College just was not for me. I knew that I wanted to run a company. I wanted to support my parents. They worked so hard. How do you do that? And so I jumped into sales right away. Actually, do you remember Pac Bell?
Yeah.
Before it became Singular. So I did the merger of Pac Bell to Singular and then AT&T.
No way.
Which literally I feel like ages me. But did that, and I remember launching like the first Bluetooth and the Razor phone, right, when that came out. But what I did is I surrounded myself with people that I wanted to be. I remember in an interview with Apple, I had to go through 8 interviews. And my last interview was, so what do you want to do in Apple? And I said, well, what's your job? And he told me, I'm like, great, I want your job. I want your job. He's like, you do? Yeah. And I said, yeah, and I will, and I'll get it. And that's what you do. They say that. Surround yourself with people that you want to be like.
Right. It's only going to make you better.
Or that will push you. And so I did that. And so then I was at a point, so I had the experience. I understood tech, but I never actually dove into building something.
Until when?
What's crazy is actually building it from scratch was just 7 months ago.
Wow.
But no one would ever think that. I've been asked to run companies. But running is completely different than actually being in development.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know that. Like with startup life's not for everyone. It's a great idea. But you have to have resilience and like grit, like to move forward with everything. Like for me, someone asked me the other day, Linda, like how do you define success? Success is overcoming like hurdles and learning from failures is what my success is. And it's the reason why I'm here today. I mean, I think the biggest fall for me, which has really hit the valley, was the Bitwise Industries fall. I was asked to run a company very similar to FyrstUp, and I left a very stable position with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services here in the valley to go run Bitwise's what they call a portfolio company. It's a startup.
Yeah.
Linda, you're the only person that understands real estate. You have a tech background. Are you willing to jump into it? And so that was my first opportunity of actually running a company, running a team, having P&Ls, like all of that. First time ever. And I was able to do that for 4 years. So like going into testing, going into development, doing a scope of work, like all of that stuff was very, very new. The great thing about Bitwise is that they encouraged people with no experience to come in and leverage what they've had to like scale. And so I clinged on to that. I knew it wasn't going to be forever. I knew it wasn't going to stay forever, but I wanted to make sure that I took advantage of that as much as possible.
It was a building block along the
Absolutely.
process.
When they had that big fall, this almost a year ago, back in May.
Mm-hmm.
There is a silver lining to it. I did feel stuck there because I was the face of the company. I couldn't move. If I moved, the company would have failed.
So you didn't want to let people down?
What was that?
You didn't want to let people down?
I didn't want to let them down. And honestly, I believed in the product.
Okay.
I did.
It's powerful.
Unfortunately, the team I had wasn't at scale. It's hard to coach up people that haven't been in the real estate space.
Right.
It just really is hard. And I'm learning that. And I've had several conversations with Jared about like, how do I pivot? Like, how do I leave? If I leave, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know? But I had a heart for tech and real estate. I love real estate and I love tech. And the two together, I felt like there wasn't, I hate saying this word, disruptors though in the industry that really supported how agents and brokers needed to do business.
Right. There needed to be is what you're saying.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And so when Bitwise went under, it was my opportunity to be like, cool. I did 4 years of testing. I call that
do you think without all that experience, though, you wouldn't have seen that opportunity? Because I think a lot of people are blinded to that opportunity.
People are, honestly, till this day, people are stuck in that boo-hoo, look what happened, like phase still, to where I'm like, no, let's get up and let's move on. Like,
Right.
I'm a single mom of 2 kids that literally lost everything. Like, within a year period, I went through a divorce. I moved. My house actually closed escrow a week before the furlough.
Oh, wow.
So I had a new home mortgage that I know I couldn't afford. And I had a whole bunch of clients that I had to support somehow that were still trying to use the platform. And at that point, we had close to 6,000 agents using the platform.
Wow.
And they had no idea who Bitwise was. But I had to figure out a way to support them. So I had a small amount of time, 6-week window, to find developers, build a company out, do a scope of work, and get it testing in a live environment within 6 weeks.
Wow.
We did it in 8. But
Amazing.
I was able to use my 4 years, what I call proof of concept at Bitwise, which is all that testing and that, you're literally just throwing money into a company and figuring out what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I was able to do that for 4 years with Bitwise and now create FyrstUp and have it profitable within weeks.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because I was able to take what I've learned. But
was there a
lot
pause of the break? Meaning, so as you said, a lot of people folded within this circumstance of a drop, right? And you said a lot of people are still in this pity party phase of, this isn't fair to me. I've worked hard. I've poured my life and soul and maybe some financials into it. It sounded like you really didn't get dropped. Like maybe you got hit, but you didn't drop down in kind of fetal position. Like you went straight forward.
Yeah. There's something about like when the furlough happened, it was bizarre. It happened on Memorial Day. It was 8:00 at night on the West Coast. So everyone else across like the nation probably were super intoxicated and not really there or not even on the call. And right away, the first thing I could think of was like, shoot, my developers. A lot of my developers were on visas. So like they only have 30 days to find a job in order to stay in the country. Wow. So I go into this mode of like, how am I going to protect my team as a leader? Right? So I right after that call, we got on a company call with my company. And I said, I have no answers. I really don't. You have my number. I'm going to try to figure out what I could do. We worked on resume building. We worked on unemployments, like literally on a Zoom call. Let's all get on unemployment. And so for me, it was like next steps. Yeah. What are we going to do? Let's figure this out. So it didn't really settle until like a week or so after, where I'm like, whew, okay, now how about me? Like, what am I going to do? Let's pause there real
quick. Do you understand how powerful that is? You went to not self-survival mode. You went into survival of your people. That's super powerful. Yeah. Do you think you're born with that? Like, is that instinctual? Is it something you were taught like when you were a kid, or?
You know what's crazy? Oh, my mom's gonna kill me if she hears this. I am the middle child, so I was always lost into things. So I think because of feeling always lost, I wanted the opposite. Like, you're seen, I hear you. Wow. And I will do whatever I can. So I wanted to give them what I never had, or felt like I never had.
Yeah.
Let me correct that. My mom and dad probably tried their hardest, right? but they had 3 other kids too.
Yeah, it's tough.
So
you have 2, right?
Yeah, and I have 2.
Me too.
So I want to say it's
But you can
that.
probably feel it in your youngest of you're like, I don't know why, but my second, I feel like this is a common trend amongst parents with multiple kids is like your second's more the wild child. And like, it's probably because you baby the first, it's your first one. And then the second one, you know, it's like, well, they kind of got to figure it out. And then they got examples and I've been here, done that, and they'll be fine. They'll live.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think I've taken that and which is not bad. Like I said, my parents were immigrants. They didn't know what they both worked 2 jobs, trying to make like life perfect for us. And looking back, I felt like I had the best childhood.
Yeah.
But I do see a level of like, or not a level, a series of neglect in certain parts of my life.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I automatically wanted to make sure that my team was taken care of. I knew I would have been fine. I would have figured it out.
Yeah, you know how to survive.
I would be fine. Yeah. And it was everyone else. And so I did that, but there was a point, actually, I reached out to my clients. I was not supposed to reach out to my clients. I was told specifically from the board of directors at Bitwise not to make contact, let your company dissolve on its own, and leave it, let it be.
Wow.
And I pushed back a little bit. And I said, sorry, it's not in my character. I'm glad that you're asking me that, but it's not in my character. And what are you going to do? I'm not even employed by you anymore, right? And so I called each broker one by one, and Jared James, boyfriend, but also board of directors for my company, I asked him to be on each call with me just to make sure that I wasn't doing anything illegal or whatever. I didn't know. I was terrified with this whole Bitwise stuff. So Jared, we had a list, and we went through each broker and letting them know, like, hey, your services are going to slowly end. As of right now, though, you're going to have access to everything at no cost. We're not going to charge you. But things are going to die because the servers are all under Bitwise, and that will eventually die. So in my head, everything's a timeline. So I'm like, okay, 30 to 60 days, things will slowly stop. Like, servers are going to end. The great thing about the app is that it works regardless if I'm on it or my developers are on it. It's going to do what it does. But once it's no longer hosted, I can't support it.
Yeah, there it goes away.
And so I reached out to a few, and then my last call was to a REmax broker out in Ohio. Dear friend of mine, too. But it was very much an agenda call. And he stopped the call, the broker, and said, Linda, how are you doing? Like, I don't care about Bitwise. I'm going to support you on your next venture. But how are you doing? And I just broke. And it's not until then I realized, like, Linda, you need to, like, at some point.
These people believe in you.
Yeah. Like, look at yourself. Like, they didn't even know who Bitwise was. Yeah. They only knew Linda and Listing Alert. And that was it. Yeah. And so at that point, Jared and I got on a call afterwards. And Jared 100% financially funds the company. And he said, Linda, I'll do this. I can't run the company. It's your company. But let's do it. Let's do it. You know, he has the market share. Yeah. I have the experience. And we do have these clients that want it. Yeah. So it wasn't until that specific moment that I'm like, cool, let's just figure it out. But it is situations like that. Like, I would never say, hey, let's go build a tech company. Right. Like, I don't know anything about tech. Right. But you know what? You hire the right people to do what you need done, and that makes a great leader. Oh, yeah. I don't know how to run a brokerage, but hey, I know how to do marketing. I'm pretty sure we could figure it out. You know, it's that mindset, allowing others to take lead for success as a group. You don't need to know how to do everything.
No. But what do you think within, like, all that instance that you just unpacked, a lot of what I'm hearing, the adversities you went through only makes FyrstUp a better platform.
Absolutely.
And that's typically not only company related, but individually related. People going through certain adversities make them a stronger person who they are. You may not see those adversities, but you damn sure know that that person probably had some, because the backbone they built and the passion they have for their company, as you can see your passion for it. Yeah. That's what goes to show of it.
Absolutely. And so when it's I call it storytelling time. When I meet a broker and I get to tell my story, it's the passion and the drive. and the value of what I'm bringing and the partnership. The tool itself is a freaking whiteboard tool on it.
Well, you can feel it, your passion towards it.
Yeah, it's like, and the reason why I have passion, though, the whole reason why I loved the MLS and I'm still in the real estate space is because I love providing solutions.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what your problem is and let's figure it out.
Yeah. And
I didn't know I loved that until I went to Apple. Because when I was at AT&T, everything was hourly and commission based. So I was going for that dollar every single time. When you're with Apple, it's not commission based.
You're a salary.
You're just on an hourly or salary, depending on your role. And I remember asking why not. He's like, Linda, the product will sell with or without you. I'm like, that's pretty much true.
Yeah.
They don't need me to sell it.
Right.
And so I learned to provide a solution to customers, whether it's a car charger that we're talking about for 20 minutes, or if it's a whole broker solution or a hospital solution on the business side of how can we provide Apple into your actual atmosphere? Like, how does that look? But I didn't know that until I went into a corporate environment that wasn't commission based.
Right.
And so I have taken that and I've literally applied it in everything. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
And how could I support you in that? It's one of the reasons why in the MLS I loved doing trainings.
Yeah.
It wasn't my role to do trainings. They told me it wasn't my role, but it's okay. I'm like, hey, I know the MLS. Let me teach you. Yeah. Let me teach you what you're not doing. Mm-hmm. The MLS isn't only to list and sell property. Yeah. Let me tell you what else you could do about it. And so just the passion that I had. But you're right. It's something that I've also experienced and gone through.
Yeah.
So when telling the story to a broker like yourself,
it's relatable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
But what was the transition? Because we talked about a little bit about the shift from employee corporate environment. Are most tech people employees, and when was the transition to entrepreneurship? Because that's something I know you believe in heavily, of being entrepreneurs. I know that you and Jared, are doing some accountability stuff. You guys are entrepreneurs yourself. I feel like a lot of people see the end result of you being this badass entrepreneur. And luckily that's why we're here today, is hearing your story of what it took to get to become an entrepreneur. But did you know, like, at the beginning of your journey that you were going to be an entrepreneur? I know you mentioned that when you're kind of in that transitionary period out of high school.
No, all I knew out of high school was, hey, I want my name on a wall. Like, that's how I know I made it. And that's entrepreneur.
Any wall?
So how are you doing? No, but like, that's what I was like, oh, I want my name on like a building, on a wall, or whatever it was. But like that, and honestly,
I should have had my team put Linda on here somewhere.
It would have made my day. No, but like, quite honestly, it took Jared to be like, you could do this, which is
so someone
wild.
believed in you.
But yes, which is so wild, because I've heard it from other people. You're so good. You're this. You're that. And it's great. But it took that. But also it took a fall, like a big fall with Bitwise, for me to be like, get up, Linda. Do something. Mm-hmm. Like, this is my opportunity not to work for somebody, which is fine. You want to work for someone? That's great. For me, my mentality is like, I'm going to do this myself.
Do you think you would be where you'd be without the fall?
No. I'll be in a corporate environment.
Yeah.
100%. I remember even...
Let's unpack that a little bit. So most people see falls as bad, right?
Yeah.
You relate just a definition of a fall. Typically someone tilts over, scraped themselves, unconscious, hospitalized, you name it, right? Fall for you and entrepreneurs was an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And it's all, the common analogy that your parents tell you, us being parents, it's not, in life, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it.
Yeah, how you respond.
Yeah.
And you're very much right. However, if you look back, like a lot of tech ventures, that made it huge, right? Like Steve Jobs, he actually was fired from his company.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go. There's
Zuckerberg, they took him off.
A lot of people that have like I said, the adversity, the grits, like to come back and be like, the resilience to come back and just, I want to do it.
Keep trying again. Mm-hmm.
And so with that fall, I don't think it would have happened.
Yeah.
I would have been like, what's the next corporate ladder? And I'll just be a CEO of a whatever.
Yeah.
I'll work my way up.
Why do you think a lot of people are scared? I ask this more genderized, which I would normally not say this, but I have 2 girls I'm raising, right? And we have a whole crew of nannies, right? And they're all women. And my wife runs a hair salon and owns a boutique, right? So I'm very educated on women.
Yeah.
So my most important thing in life is raising my 2 daughters and having a successful marriage with my wife. But in raising my daughters, what I'm seeing through the people who help support us is the younger generation of female, and they can be in my office too, because I have quite a few of them hired. They're so scared to make a mistake. But they don't realize, just in your instance, that those mistakes could kickstart your whole career and opportunity. Why do you think they're so scared? Like, I mean, it's almost a question to you. Like, go back to old Linda, and you already kind of answered this. Like, why were you scared to leave? You said letting people down, but I feel like there's something deeper in there.
Yeah.
Were you scared of risk? Did you not see the risk until you had to, based on that fall?
When
Or that opportunity,
when you're put in
I
that
guess.
position, like you only have 2 opportunities. Maybe that's it. Like I just didn't see that. It was too much of a risk for me.
Yeah.
And you get comfortable, but when you get comfortable, that's when you have to check
see
yourself.
that comfort. Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast about. I was listening today to a podcast. Do you watch? It's the Diary of CEO. Do you listen to that?
I've listened
Great
to a few.
guy. And he was interviewing. I'm not sure who exactly, but they were talking about perfectionists. And Jared and I were talking about this. I said, Jared, are you a perfectionist? And we were just having conversations because perfectionists are actually not ones to take risks. Perfectionists are
they're
afraid.
Scared to make mistakes.
Yeah. To make and so
Right.
like I wonder if there was a part of me that was just a perfectionist, but also wanted to be liked and known for where I was already at, and not someone to take risk and lose it all because of.
I don't know if those people exist. Maybe Elon Musk.
I mean? Maybe, right? But those that are not perfectionists are ones that will take risks all day long, and those are the ones that actually will succeed and run companies and build their own empire.
I've seen so many. It's so powerful you say that, because we have 90 agents, over 20-something employees. So many people come in within my organization that are highly intelligent, 100 times more intelligent than I am. Right? I'm just hard work and I'm barely intelligent. They do no deals. So they've perfected these studies of real estate or entrepreneurship or investing, and they're too scared to take the risk, so there's no outcome. You
know what they also do? Perfectionists also procrastinate because they need things to be perfect.
Yeah. Never will be.
And it will never will, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it tends up a procrastination state. And it's super unfortunate, like how like you said, you have very highly intelligent people that would kill it in the industry. And I see that too. Yeah. But it's because they procrastinate, or things have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's probably a spot for, now thinking about this, because I presented on Monday about, have you read Tim Grover's book?
No.
Oh, Tim Grover was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant's coach.
No.
He talks about, he defines them as cooler, closer, and cleaners.
Okay.
So it's basically good, great, and unstoppable.
Okay.
And the world needs all of them, just like they need perfectionists, they need entrepreneurs, they need, tech people, real estate people, all the above, right? So these perfectionists, as you call them, like those are probably my ops system people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're great employees.
Absolutely.
I'd almost not relate a perfectionist to an entrepreneur. The amount of mistakes I've made as an entrepreneur is because I'm a great entrepreneur. Yeah. And I say that humbly in the sense of, but I learned from all those failures.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
just wild. But I feel like for instance, this podcast, for an example, you don't know where it's going to go. We don't know what's going to lead. We don't even know how the conversation is going to direct. Yeah. But
did I send you a script ahead of time?
Yeah, you did.
Sorry, I missed your email inbox.
No, but the great thing is, it doesn't matter. It's relatable.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, oh, I get it. I get what he's saying or what she's saying. I understand. That it's relatable.
Yeah.
And Jared talks about this all the time. He talks about visibility. And just be out there. Be an option.
But what you and him said in a podcast, and something that really sat with me was not only being out there, which is obviously the point of a podcast, is being your authentic self.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it was funny how you were relating it. So, like, you know, yourself can relate to this in a corporate environment, and then Jared can relate to it in a setting from a top producer to CEO to coach. You know, and you guys were talking about, when do I wear my Rolex? When do I not wear my Rolex? What car do I drive to this appointment? What car do I not drive to this appointment? And it's like, when do you earn, or when do you choose to be your authentic self? And I don't know what that is. I mean, it took me to have kids to say, like, I don't care about any of that now. Yeah. Like, and you have to accept there's passions that people have. There's some people that are really into cars. There's some people that are into watches. Mm-hmm. There's some people that are into weird stuff, you know, animals.
Like, quite honestly, you're in Fresno, from what my understanding is you're known as luxury real estate.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess my numbers earned that. My dad was an attorney, right? So it's all based on statistics for me. But yeah, the last 5 years.
So like for you, everyone's watching. Like they watch you. They look at you.
Yeah.
They critique you.
You know what they're looking for, though?
What?
The mistakes I'm going to make.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. I mean, whatever.
But that makes me a better person,
totally.
You know? I mean, look, you know, it's just, you're in a competitive environment. Tech, real estate, both merging together, right? So look, old Nico, and again, I reflect this a lot. When I first started, when I was selling multi-million-dollar real estate at the age of 24, it was chasing the money and the fame, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel silly saying fame because you can relate fame in so many different ways, right? And I wanted and needed that recognition. And I don't know why. I mean, the easy out is, it gets me more listings. It makes me feel better. And I'm maybe some women, at the point I was single, would attract to me more. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to build something. But my rooted from, I wanted to prove people wrong, right? So this is a deeper talk.
Meaning that, like, no one
believed in me. Oh. Yeah.
In the real estate space?
Probably in general. So I was in college. I got licensed when I was 18, broker's license at 22, working for developers. Everyone just thought I was overnight success story. Worked in the ag from ground up, like CFO, nursing company, processing plant. But when my dad passed away, one of my relatives, you know, I called him literally the day after my dad passed away. And was like, you know, I kind of want to do what you do. You do real estate. You make a lot of money. You know, you have a lot of kids. And it was this, you'll never do what I do, kid. I was like, well, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And so it was just like proving something wrong. But that's also a double-edged sword. I can take that with a lot of energy to accomplish what I want to accomplish, but that shouldn't be the only driving factor of who I'm trying to become to be. Right?
So what is your driving factor now?
The best father I can possibly be to my kids.
Aww.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, that's the easy answer. That's what I want it to be. Am I there always 100% of being a great father? I try to be, but I'm selfish too. Like, anytime I choose to take away time from my family, which is still Monday through Friday. I've gotten better about Saturday and Sundays. When you're a new agent, you're damn sure hope you're working Saturday and Sundays too. But you earn that, right? So I was the one who was taught by very wealthy people. Mm-hmm. If you aren't there, someone else is your competitor. So you be the first one in and you're the last one out. Mm-hmm. Because if someone works a 10-hour day, you work 15. If someone works a 15-hour day, you work 20. That's how you're going to be better.
Oh my gosh. You remind me. So I keep on saying Jared. But
we're going to have to bring him in.
Yeah. He says this, an entrepreneur works 80 hours. They never have to work 40 in their life, which means never working for someone else.
Right.
And that's the true mindset that you need.
Yeah. But
he also mentioned to me, so recently he's been saying no to a lot of things, like to a lot of speaking gigs, and I asked him why. Like, could you say yes? Say yes to one of them. Like, you have the time. He's like, Linda, a yes means no to something else. And a no means yes to something else. And I don't want to risk that. Like, right now, it's a no because something else is actually...
That's more meaningful.
Absolutely. Whether it's him and I getting together because he lives in Connecticut, I'm here. Yeah. Whether it's a family function, honestly, his kids are priority over everything. He has 2 boys that are in high school. So whether it's a soccer tournament or his son's football game. Yeah. Those are always going to be yeses, and everything else will be nos if they happen to interfere.
Yeah.
But when he said that, I was like, oh, Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what you are now.
It's hard to accept that though. So you hear that, I think it was Warren Buffett who's like, he says to like no to 99.9% of the deals that come across his desk, right? And obviously he has the power to do that because he probably has a gazillion deals coming through his desk. But it's funny, when you get first start, it's almost like you think you have to do that, right? So for like the new audience that are beginning any ventures in their life, when I started becoming an agent or broker or whatever it is, I said yes to every coffee meeting. By like 9 o'clock, I was literally shaking because I'd have 12 coffee meetings. None of them did me anything, right? And I say that respectfully, not as because the individual is bad. It's like I had no intentions of going into it. So what we talk about is clarity in what we are saying yes to, right? I'm just a very honest person. I am a yes man by nature. I don't know if it's the Italian heritage, which most Italians like to drink.
So you're
and
a
that's
people pleaser.
100%.
That's what it is.
100%. And we were just talking about that before we launched of like people's perceptions of ourselves. And yeah, I'm a people pleaser. I'm in a industry of sales. You have to please people.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
Make
like
them
if I
happy.
wasn't a people pleaser, probably in the wrong industry, right? So, but with that being said, this is actually a very deep talk that my wife and I are heavy into right now because she is an entrepreneur herself. But if you can't please yourself and your family, how are you going to please others? So you spend all day pleasing others and then you come home and you take it out on the people you love the most.
Yeah.
How fair is that?
Yeah.
Not fair.
Absolutely.
Right? So he's being self-aware, and that's where I think the most influential people, the peak performers, are the ones that are the most self-aware. He's aware that if I give these people my energy, I don't have to place to the people that I really want to give it to.
Absolutely.
Right? But how do you become more aware of that? And I think that just comes with time. Right?
Yeah. It literally has to be put in practice. Like for me, this might sound bad, but on my phone, you'll see blockouts where I am literally intentionally saying, nope, just kids. So no one could book any meetings during my 2 to 4 time slot.
Yeah.
Because I'm with Ari and we're at gymnastics.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out and we're talking. And I used to do that quite a bit when I was running that multiple listing service at Bitwise also.
Yeah.
My team knew that I had a lunch date with my son here, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. There is no interference.
Yeah.
But if it's not on my calendar, I don't follow it. And so for me, I realized, and it's not in my nature, and I hate saying this, I am a woman, I have 2 kids, but I was never made to be a homemaker.
Yeah.
I had my son, went through postpartum immediately. I only took 3 weeks off, went back to work. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
My mom, bless her heart, retired and watched my son, and I went back to the MLS. I didn't know how to adjust to something new. Someone that needed me and wasn't independent of themselves.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, it's still something I have to practice daily. And I do that on my phone. My phone goes to sleep at 7 o'clock. That means no emails are coming through whatsoever. The only text that's coming through is Jared or my son if he's not with me, if they're with their dad. But other than that, it means that my attention is on them completely. But it's something that I continue to practice, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult, but it works for me.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. So you are a CEO, badass mom, starting other ventures.
Yeah.
How do you do it all as, a woman who is now single, has 2 kids, runs a company, long distance relationship? I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
What you kind of just said is like you've learned to prioritize. But how do you calendar? Like, how do you time block?
It literally
what are
is
some
time blocks. It's the weirdest thing, but everything is time blocked. Like for me, Jared and I are always on calls. We're always talking business, whether it's employees, we're actually drafting up some new development stuff. So whether it's that, whatever the case may be. So we're always in communication, but I do have time blocks that everyone has access to my calendar, so they could see. It's not hidden that you have no idea that I wasn't in a meeting or you're double booking things, and so everything is very fluid and fluid in the company. So they know that, but I have to do time blocks.
Yeah,
it is a lot. I was just telling someone that I went to bed, and I do scheduling a lot, so I'll schedule certain emails out that might not necessarily be a huge priority, but I'll do all my scheduling when the kids are in bed and asleep. Like, they don't see me on my computer. is when I get it out and I start scheduling emails for the next morning, because I know I have school drop-offs that I have to do.
Yeah.
I have to get my gym session in. That's the only way for me to get back into like getting
Right.
to focus. So those are my stuff that I haven't set into routine. But if I have meetings or emails that have to go out to the team or to my developers, everything, a lot of it is scheduled.
Yeah.
And no one knows that. But I am accessible by phone if they need
Right.
me and all that too. But it takes a lot of discipline.
Oh yeah, for sure. The podcast that I got the most out of, have you ever listened to Rob Dyrdek?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
he's amazing. So
I
he is the master of time blocking. So he said something that I preach all the time now of like, because I was always like the calendar guy, scheduler, very prioritized. Well, actually not prioritized. So that's what I'm getting to is, so I had all my work stuff in there, right? Because sometimes meetings are scheduled weeks in advance,
Yeah.
months in advance. And then most people start scheduling on Sunday, right? For the week. What does a week look like? And they start with, oh, I need to do a team check-in at 8. We got cold calls at 9.
Yeah.
We have investment properties we need to see at 12. And then you go to, okay, what's kids' schedules look like? What can I make? What can I not make? Right? Then it's like, okay, is there going to be enough time for date nights with my wife and maybe a dinner? I had it all backwards. You know, what I prioritize, and this isn't for everyone, but how I believe I should be prioritizing is my family always first. Right? So actually one of my YPO friends, and I tried it this year in December to end the year and start the new year, him and his wife go on like a significant other, go on like a retreat for a day or two, and they schedule their whole year.
Yeah.
Right? And go over goals. But then that's the calendar that's first. Then it goes to your kids. You calendar them. Then you should need to calendarize your own personal priorities. So if you pray, if you work out, maybe you're, read books, right? Then your work schedule goes in. I was doing it completely opposite.
Yeah. I mean, having that scheduling in place and sticking to it.
Yeah, consistency.
Oh my gosh. It makes me feel so like I've accomplished so much more
Yeah.
like in that day. There's times where I'm like, what the heck did I do today? I was busy. And those are the days where I'm off schedule.
Yeah.
It's because I pushed everything around or I moved meetings around. But there's always I am a stickler to meetings.
Yeah.
That's just and time blocks. And everyone knows that don't book anything if Linda's unavailable. Like that's
Yeah.
how it works. And they also know that after a certain time that I'm not available
yeah.
also.
And they start to respect that.
Yeah, and a lot of they're on East Coast, which is also difficult. So I
Yeah.
have to accommodate to the fact that, hey, I'm 3 hours behind. They're 3 hours ahead. And so I might have to get up a little earlier
Right.
at 5 o'clock to take a meeting, right? Or whatever the case may be. But it is booked ahead, scheduled ahead, and that's it. But
Yeah.
it has
Look,
to be
nothing's
put
going to
into
be
practice.
perfect. There may be
Absolutely.
shifts that you have to do,
But you're right. Family has to be my focal point.
yeah.
It's the kids. And I think more so because of the divorce, they have gone through so much.
Yeah.
The split households, a move, structure, and whatever they have at his place. I need to make sure that they are a priority.
Yeah.
That they don't see me all the time on my iPad, on my laptop, or my phone, or in a
Yeah.
meeting, but they're first. So when they're out of school, things just shift.
Right.
I mean, it really is all about them. And I'm staying up late doing work.
I'll tell you what,
So-
you'll never regret that. I'm not divorced. I come from a divorced family. I don't know how old your kids were. The audience doesn't need to know either. But when my parents got divorced, I was young. I can remember like it was yesterday, my mom prioritizing myself and my brother. And, my dad was a successful attorney and he was what I thought was working. Maybe he was, maybe it wasn't. But they'll never forget those memories
Yeah.
of you prioritizing them.
I really hold on to that because they are young. And so, but kids are resilient.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out. And so, and when I do take a call, like I make sure I sit them down and they know, hey, mommy really has to take this.
Yeah, they understand it.
And so I explain to them why.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, they're trying to figure
Super
it out.
cool.
Yeah. But what, it works. It works
Yeah.
for me. It works now. It might shift,
Yeah.
and change, but I will adapt to that.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
Kind of make it
I
work.
like the word you said with consistency. So let's touch on that a little bit because you and Jared just got done with like a accountability fitness training, right?
Actually, 2 more weeks and then we're done. Yeah.
Oh, you're still in it.
It's 60 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a 60-day challenge?
Yeah.
How is that going?
I mean, it's going. It is crazy how much. Okay, this whole accountability thing started because everyone has New Year's resolutions,
Yeah.
right? And it's crazy. I saw a stat that 96% of people create resolutions. 46% of them actually will drop after the first 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Have you seen the gyms lately? I can't even get a yoga class.
I'm actually excited about that because it's like died down. What were you saying?
I can't even get into yoga class. I got smart 7 years ago when I had my first kid to build a home gym, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. And also, I just don't like temptations, right? Which is a different conversation. But like these yoga classes, because I'm trying to implement that within my schedule. New Year resolution of like everyone's on the pony these days just to get into shape. So talk about that though, how important consistency is, because
it is.
Again, it's really important within my brokerage and organization that these young people or experienced people, they come in, they're ready to kick butt, and they do for a month, and hopefully they make a commission check, which is good and bad, because if they make one, peace out, I'll see you in a couple months because I can live off of it. Or they don't make one and they're like, this doesn't work, I need a shift. It's like after 30 days.
I know. It's super important. And with this group, which I'm very fortunate, we have had about a little over 50 people in the group, which is great.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they're getting one-on-one time with me and Jared, and it's a great group of people to collaborate with. But it has been so sad to see how many people have just dropped.
Oh, wow.
Like they're still in the group, but they're just not accountable to anybody or being themselves.
So they just gave up on the goal.
Yeah. And so, and it's just unfortunate because that is also probably a pattern in their business.
Yeah.
Right. And their lifestyle in general.
They hit cruise control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
it got too hard? Or just time lapsed?
They literally just checked out. It just checked out.
Interesting.
And so, and what's crazy is you see it. It's not like you can't see them. Like you're literally checked out. Like I know you, whatever, I'm going to throw a name out there. Sarah, you checked out. Like I'm not sure why you're trying to, like it's almost somewhat embarrassing. Like I would be like embarrassed if someone knew that I was not. But and also they committed, they paid to be a part of this. So there's a level of commitment there.
Yeah.
I
have no pity for those type of people. I'm just going to say it. If someone were to bow out and maybe just like hit their cruise control, at least have the, thought, or I don't even know the right term I'm going to choose, but to go to their leaders and say, hey, I need a pickup. Yeah. Like I'm struggling.
I have a question for you then. Yeah. So if you have no pity for them, are they still hanging their license underneath you if they're not performing?
Great question. I'm trying to see what I can appropriately say on this and not.
No, you don't have to.
No. I think it's a great question. I look, you can ask me anything. So how brokerages are ran, and it's totally changed, right? Remember when we first started, it was like normal splits for new agents were 50-50, and then some top producers were like 70-30, 80-20. Now with all these different brokerages, which you work with a lot of them, this cap method, these virtual brokerage, 90-10s, or hey, pay $10,000 for the whole year and then keep the rest. They don't have to worry about those people. So why are people joining Gentile, right? Whether it's our investment side or our brokerage, it's because of the culture. So we're trying to hold those people accountable. Now, look, I used to be a promoter of kind of the free ride because I wanted to give people a chance because I never got that chance, that I then had to create a company that gave people chances. But I had to have a deep dive internally to myself and say, is that the best thing for them, right? Am I doing what they signed up to do by not holding these people accountable?
That's a leader that would lead with compassion, just so you know.
Because I care.
Absolutely.
So like they don't cost me money anymore, so I can let them sit. But now transition this year, which is arguably, the worst real estate transition within the last decade, right? Because of these interest rates. And I know that's up for argument, but I'll just say it. So leading into a new year where people are getting more desperate, they're offering bigger splits, lower caps. They're trying to recruit anyone and everyone they can. I started charging people.
Good.
Yeah. So people are offering for free. I changed all my roles in 2024. So like when everyone was charging people, I wasn't. When everyone stopped because the market's soft and they decided to do whatever it took, I start charging people.
Yeah. It makes you more exclusive. You want to be a part of the team?
Yeah, I don't know if I was like looking for the exclusivity. It was more the accountability of, look, if you believe in yourself, just like how you started this course, if you want a fitness challenge and accountability, you pay for it, right? Because hopefully that holds them accountable. It's like, I'm invested.
Yeah.
Right? Same kind of thought process here. I'm now invested. If I'm not willing to pay $100 a month for an office use fee to be part of this culture, I don't belong here. Arguably, you don't belong in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a broker before we launched FyrstUp. He said, Linda, let me do some cleaning before we launched the company. I said, okay, the partnership. I was like, wonderful, great, that's fine. And he wanted to make sure that he had an office of producing agents. So his production per agent was high.
Right.
And so he cleaned probably like, I don't know, let's say he had 100 agents. He probably took a quarter of them out.
Wow.
And said, but it really was, and like how you kind of nailed it a little bit, leading with compassion. It was a disservice for them to stay.
Yeah.
You know? So let me tell you something. If you are not wanting to do, it's one thing, I remember at an MLS, when I was at the MLS, we had a rule, the NAR had a rule, and I had a clean house with brokers. So I had to make sure that brokers were not using the MLS outside of its actual intent. If you haven't sold property in 2 years, why are you on, or listed properties in 2 years, why are you on the MLS? What are you using our data for, right? I had a broker tell me and fought me and said, it's not my fault that my brokerage sucks, Linda. I am trying, but I'm independent, and it's hard. And he's like, and I just suck. And so he had to send proof to me on that he was creating client portals. He was doing CMAs.
Yeah.
He was, right?
Interesting.
So you do have some of those agents that are probably in here, or any brokerage. It's not that, they're not producing, but it's not because they're not trying.
Right.
Right? And so now you have to really look at that. Well, okay, are you productive, not in just work, versus like bringing cash flow in, like revenue in? So there are two different sides of things. And so I guess it's hard. So that's why I asked you, like, why are those agents still here? Yeah. Is it because, at what point do you give them their check back? Right. And I don't know. We don't have an answer to that. But, like, it's interesting. And I've never ran a brokerage, never been licensed in my life. So I don't know how that.
You have employees, though, right?
I have a very lean
But you have
company. Actually, it's what we call shared services. I use Jared's.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But you still have to somewhat manage them, right?
There's times where I'm like, hey, it makes no sense to have a huge marketing team these days. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. It just doesn't. I have social media, and I have Jared and I's network. Right. So, like, I take advantage of what I can, but we are very, very lean. Right. In that. But
that's just running efficiently. My more question where I was headed with that was leading people who, what we were talking about before we started this podcast was the generations that, have kind of trickled and where we're at today. No one wants to work. Yeah. Right. What are your thoughts on that?
That's hard. Like I mentioned, like the generation coming up, I mean, everything is based off, and I'm sorry, it's Matt, right? Sorry, I'm not sure it's you.
It's our director there on the cameras.
I know. I don't know. We call ours producer Tom, so I'll just call you producer Matt.
Producer Matt. There we go. We got a new name. Love it.
This doesn't apply to everybody, but the generation coming up, it's more like, what are you going to do for me? Yeah. And I felt that when I was at Bitwise. Which was so weird. Everything was based off emotions. You didn't like me one day.
Wait, time out. What are you going to do for me? And they're coming to work for a company that they're supposed to be working and servicing for, but wanting the company to service them.
I mean, look,
just look at the simplicity of that. Like, how can I service the company, not how the company can service me? You get paid.
I know. Thank you. There was an article Jared and I were reading, and it was on our last podcast, and it titled, like, college employments have dropped. I mean, college enrollments have dropped. Yeah. So what is an employer's solution is to increase the pay, but lower the requirements needed or necessary for their position, so that you give them time to build up to what they're. And it's like, no. Why are we having to accommodate for those that, like this generation of individuals that choose not to educate themselves, whether it's school or like how I did it? I did it the long way. It took me 15 years to get, or 20 years to get to where I was at now. But this generation, it's very much driven based off emotions.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, our parents looked at retirement, and they looked at healthcare benefits, they looked at pension, they looked at all of this stuff, and they're your loyalists.
Yeah, I was just going to use that word, loyalty.
There. They will stay there and retire with that company. What'd you say, 30 years? Who was that?
Yeah, my mother-in-law.
I mean, you don't see that these days.
No, never taking a day off, filling in for these college kids who call in sick for Super Bowl.
Us, millennials, are fluid. We could adapt to change. Right? So it's because technology was implemented a lot during that time frame. But then you have the generation coming up. It's very much remote work, more pay.
Can I work from home?
More pay, work from
how
home.
much can you pay me?
Unlimited vacation.
Yeah.
Right? They want the flexibility.
Right.
They don't care if you are going to match their 401. Screw you. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Right? Yeah. That's that mentality. They don't care about health benefits as much either.
Yeah.
Very few do. And those few that do will make it.
Right.
And they will rise.
So this is relatable to either whether we're talking about employees, but also just people you work with, right? So you work with a lot of brokers and companies. I work with a lot of agents and call them acquisition specialists and whatever it is, right? How I used to hire was chasing performance, right? You look at resumes. And this is where it gets tricky. So my wife is totally like you, no college education, almost dropped out of high school to start beauty college. Mom forced her to finish high school. She is way more smarter and a go-getter than I am, right? So it doesn't take certain education, but how I was raised, like my grandfather would put me over the desk and whip me with a ruler if I didn't have college in my sight. So it was like, hey, that goes on your belt and you invest in yourself. And look, it works for some people. I'd probably argue now, looking back at it now as an entrepreneur, those are more for your attorneys like my father was, medical, and doctors. Fields, but I probably could have spent those 4 years producing what I'm doing now and been further than where I'm at today. But I don't look back, I always look forward. But what I'm getting to with the, working with people or hiring people, there's a chart I love. It's performance and trust, which also trust lays a little bit into passion, right? I used to chase the peak performers saying, oh, well, if I get a peak performer, that increases revenues. It's good for our business. And then the trust, it's down here. We can't really trust them, but, these are just people I'm working with. I don't really need to trust them. I can build that up or whatever. It is what it is. I have been hosed so many times by that chart. So now I will hire a literally 0 level performer and a 10 trusted, right? We talk about producer Matt. I love the new name. Yeah, producer Matt. The most passionate guy, right? Just closed his first deal yesterday. Not only a producer, real estate agent. And the emotions, he's chest bumping. He's, leaving early to go get his client a gift. Like you see that, but like that's not the what you see these days. People's just expectations of, why don't I have a listing? How much are you going to get out of it? Not once is, he questioning, when's my commission going to come? What's my cut? He's, and he had a lot of falls through that first deal, but that only makes him a better agent, right?
Absolutely.
So when you get those people, you really hold on to them, right? The people you trust, the people who are passionate about it, right? And then those are the people that want to work with you, just like the people who supported you. They saw how passionate, how much they can trust you, so that when, the organization backing one of your platforms failed, they didn't care because what they bought into was your trust and your passion.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Matt is a reflection of your leadership style too, and who you are, whether or not he is your brand. He's branding that, you. So that's very important to see, in that, and your clients to see in that. It's a reflection of what he has been taught and coached to do, right? Through all of it. And that's what you want.
Right.
It's unfortunate now, you look at resumes and there is no commitment there, meaning that you look at, and the generation coming in is, you see 5 jobs in a year. Yeah. 5 jobs in 2 years.
Or sometimes you see no jobs.
There's something,
I was interning as a graveyard shift at the gym, going to college full time and working real estate at night. And these people come in with no resume and then expect to get $25 an hour.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's...
But why do you think people transition so fast? So you see like 5 different jobs within, a 2-year period.
Oh, it's because I must have hurt their feelings. We're not getting along.
Yeah.
I'm not getting... To me, that's just what I am seeing, like,
Yeah.
lately. When I was at Bitwise, I had an sales employee, ask me for a pay raise. And I'm pretty sure Bitwise would have given it to him, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was overpaid. Everyone was overpaid there.
Found that out
But
later.
but he came to me and asked me. And I said, you know what? I would have had more respect if you asked me if you and I could sit down and look at your commission and bonus structure. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So if you hit a certain target, it means that you were also producing for the company and the company was winning alongside you.
Yeah.
But because you're asking for X amount, I'm sorry, I can't give you that raise. That is what I'm trying to teach, and like in these young individuals.
Yeah.
It needs to be a win-win. If I'm going to do this for
Always.
you, what am I going to get?
Yeah.
Or am I just going to lose more revenue?
Right.
And so that, and I've always done that. I've always been, and Mary Van Ness, you remember Mary Van Ness?
Oh, yeah.
She has taught me that. It's more like what you want to walk in and say, she would teach me certain words that she would tell me to like switch up a little bit. But really lean into mentorship. Almost like to a point to where like you feel like you have to mentor me because I asked you a certain question that led into it. Not
But that's
because
okay
you have the
with
time.
becoming vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how could I do this in a way that I am more productive? Like, could you please teach me how you yada yada? And so I would do that, and that mentorship, that what she's feeding me is valuable. So therefore, she sees value in me, and so there is no problem when it comes to the end of the year and getting a pay raise because what she has mentored me and that I have applied is of value.
Yeah.
And it's almost mirroring her. In a sense.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is reverse psychology, but these days it's more like, no, what are you going to do for me? I'm coming here for a 25-hour job pay because I need it. I have bills to pay, I have rent, I have this, I have that. But like, it's almost like, no, but what are you going to provide the company?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? And so, I don't know. It's interesting that we're getting a lot more of that. And what's crazy is our generation or our parents' generation are still the ones that are up top in these executive levels that are seeing this and are not going to allow it to fly.
I hope not.
Like, I don't know.
Someone's got to stop it.
Yeah, someone will have to. And so it's just wild. So the mats that you have, those are the ones that you want to grasp onto.
Yeah.
And like you don't let go.
Yeah, luckily for us, I mean, Matt's a superstar, but the culture we created, and that's why a lot of people in shifting brokerages and the expansion, as we were talking about a little bit before you got here, was driven off of the culture that we create here. And we want that passion and people. Look, you spend more time at work than home.
Yeah.
Right? So why wouldn't you create a culture as the leader where you're going to enjoy it as much as you possibly can and get the most out of it if you're going to sacrifice being gone at a workplace more than your house. Right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's my vision for the organization, and we've been able to do so. So, like, where we get the most feedback is, our Monday team meetings, there's like 50 bodies here.
Like physically? That's great.
And we have 90-something agents, right? And then there's another 15 on Zoom. But there's 50 here because they want to be here. They want to interact, and it kind of relates to your app, of people want to collaborate.
Yeah.
They
do.
And I think COVID kind of hyped the in-person stuff, but there's a need for collaboration. I mean, but you have to have systems behind that.
What happened during COVID when we weren't around community? Everyone freaking gained weight, got suicidal or depressed. Like, we needed community.
Yeah.
Our body physically needs community.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why we have built this accountability group.
Yeah.
If you are wanting to succeed, surround yourself with people that are like-minded, like yourself.
Yeah.
And so,
what's your thought on that? Like masterminds, right? Because that's almost like.
Oh yeah, I love masterminds.
Yeah.
I used to do that all the time at Bitwise, where we would book a conference room for a couple hours and just spitball. Like, why is this not working?
Yeah.
What's the solution? What are we doing? What do you need? Like I've always loved masterminding.
What are for those people though that feel like, well, I don't know how to get to a mastermind. Like, I'm lucky to be part of huge organizations that I've been able to earn to get to. As a kid, I was exposed by friends' parents to become part of these organizations.
Oh, wow.
Then you have to reach credits to get there, or credibility based on income, employees, etc. But like, are there simple little things you can share? Because it seems like you're more experienced in this, where people can join masterminds. Like, how easy and how difficult is it?
I mean, first of all, just join a group and just show involvement is one thing. For instance, actually,
a group within your industry, or just any group in general?
It could be any group of interest.
Fitness group, real estate group, tech group.
So Facebook does this thing now. You're in a group, and if I'm constantly in there responding, posting, liking, whatever, I'm now a top contributor of the group, right? And so now all of a sudden I have this thing that says Linda in the group. It'll say Linda Yacoub, and it has this little crown, top contributor. All of a sudden, I am now a part. Like, have been leveled up, like elevated to the status.
Yeah.
That all I did was respond. That's actually one thing that I took away from a podcast that I was listening to. If I want to be a part of an influencers network, all you need to do is be consistent enough on their platform for them to recognize you.
Right.
And tag them. And I've been doing that, and just to see if it actually works. And I have friends of influencers in the real estate space and not in the real estate space that are now we're having conversations outside of it.
It's as easy as that.
It's literally like that. That's what Jared always says. Like, be an option.
Yeah.
Be out there, be an option. And so I have always been a part of like nonprofits. I've always, there's a group here in town that I just joined. I have no time to join a group, but I joined a group just to
being a mom, CEO.
Just
you
to
got
like
some free time, huh?
Just to leverage like my network,
Yeah.
even my network. If I could do anything for you or provide, even like for instance, to give you a referral, right? If I could do that, then I have shown my worth to you or whatever. And so I think, obviously, just jumping into something of interest. It doesn't have to be real estate.
Yeah.
Actually, Jared and I were talking about today in the car on the way over here when he was asking about you, I said, you know what, Nico's really doing something that you've always asked agents to do, is create a podcast, which everyone should have a podcast, create a podcast and interview people locally and be the local expert in your network. Yeah. So everyone here that is going back to list and sell are going to go to Nico because Nico knows about CJ.
Yeah.
Nico knows about cracked pepper. Nico knows about the best place. And the more you get people of your in the local area on your podcast, it naturally, people are going to think that you are the go-to person for Fresno.
Right.
And that's it. It's just being an option.
Yeah. You have to be educated a little bit though,
Absolutely.
right? So like there's probably, I mean, you probably know them, right? I mean, you're super well versed in the Valley real estate space. There's a lot of people who try to start marketing. They try to start, I don't think a podcast, but like maybe recording stuff. But like, what's the quality of the audience and the message they're trying to get through to people? Right? How important is that? And I find it to be quite important.
It is. But I think, first of all, the audience you're reaching most likely is the one that is following you and your kids right now, or your wife's, your family. Everyone on my social network did not follow me because I was an MLS manager. Yeah. Let's be real. I think half of my social network is real estate, but a lot of them they just want to know what I'm doing. Yeah. What I'm eating, who I'm with. But there is value.
I know, but pause there real quick though. I think we kind of discount that, right? Even if they're industry related, non-industry related, you have an audience and you can change that audience life.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I think that's where you're getting to with kind of that nonprofit approach of, we have an opportunity to help people hear stories that they never heard or information that they can't heard, So it's like, why not be able to deliver it, pay it forward? And I feel like ultimately podcasts are for that. Like,
it's a great way.
I hope that in the near future, I have the recognition to get in front of Ed Milet or, Tony Robbins or Rob Dyrdek, but I can listen to their podcast right now, so I can get all that information.
How accessible they are too? Like that way.
And it's the only way you learn and get better.
Absolutely.
right? So I don't know if you're spiritual, but like the way to get more spiritual as God calls us to do is in his word.
Absolutely.
You have to read his message, read scripture, right? You can't just go talk to a guy who's very knowledgeable on Christianity or religion. You have to go insert yourself, right?
I absolutely agree.
So that's what you and I do when we were talking and name dropping all these podcasts, because we're inserting ourselves to know how to deliver a message, what's going to impact our audience the most, what can they get out of it, right?
And being disciplined in that. You know, there was, I think it's called the theory of 100. And 100, if you practice a certain discipline 100 hours in a given year, which is 16 minutes a day. If you practice that discipline for 60 minutes a day, 100 hours a year, you will be 95% better in that discipline, whatever it is, than the rest of the world. And it's
16, what'd you say,
16 minutes
a day.
16.4 minutes a day, 100 hours a year in that discipline.
Yeah.
You will be 95% better.
That's so powerful. I think these, they get too distracted these days.
Absolutely.
And they want to try to master all kicks. Well, you're never going to move the needle.
You're absolutely
master one.
Right. I just did a post on that. I got recognized, and I'm very honored.
Oh, I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you for Res Media Newsmaker.
Yeah.
And right away, I could feel this like heaviness. I'm excited. I feel this. I need to do more. All this noise, and it's positive noise.
Yeah.
Right. But you need to like have tunnel vision and not pay attention to noise at times,
right.
even if it's positive, right? Because I have a vision. The reason why I got here is because I had a vision.
And it was really clear.
Absolutely. Irma, the CEO of Bitwise, she actually was my direct mentor. I spoke to her directly. I spoke to Jake every now and then, but she was my direct report every single week. And when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. And I even told her. And she said, Linda, you are so powerful, but you don't even know it. But right now, you're just a machine gun, and you're making a lot of noise. Like, you're powerful, but you're making a ton of noise.
You need to direct it.
She's all, you need to be a sniper and be deadly.
Yeah.
And focus and be on target, and every single one will be on point. And I took that, and I applied it to everything, but I just learned that 5 years ago because I was making noise.
Yeah.
But when the Res Media announcement went out, and Jared and I both got that, it made a lot of noise, and it was positive noise. It was great. And right away, I felt like I needed to post more. I needed to do more social ads. I needed to do all this stuff, and it wasn't what I needed. What I needed to was exactly where I was at.
Yeah.
Stay focused and continue to go and celebrate the milestones that you're in.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the wins along the process, because it's a
absolutely.
whole journey. It's not a sprint, and you got to enjoy the journey. So, we've unpacked it so much. I know we're going to have another episode, but to finish us up, that leads us to a great transition to conclude. What does your sniper look like, and why do you do it? Just to close us out, right? So where is Linda headed for the future? Is it just continue to build FyrstUp and this be the most badass platform tech system that possibly can be on real estate planet Earth? And why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Or what's your why? I mean, it could be your kids, it can be your Jared, it could be all the above.
We're in a position of scaling still.
Okay.
We're growing very rapidly. So we're scaling, and I need to keep up with that bandwidth of scale. We have acquired a company. And so we acquired in October. Really have an announcement. Jared has name dropped every now and then. It's called Broker Assist. But we are looking at taking that company. It's a gig economy, meaning that let's say you have someone here in the office that needs someone to host or someone to put a sign out or whatever. You gig it up at a certain cost, possibly. It's a gig economy. So we acquired that company, and so right now is tunnel vision. I'm saying focused on FyrstUp because we need to scale,
Right.
and we're growing so quickly. But also we need to think of that growth and now create scarcity, like not have it available for everybody, not in every market. Just like how you when you want to buy leads for Zillow, let's say, it's not every zip code's available because they're up. So now we're looking at like, well, how do we structure the company in a way that it makes it a value to brokers to jump on, but not available to everybody. So we're looking at company structure, but we're definitely scaling there. And my why, honestly, is I love giving back.
You and the solutions.
I just love the solution part.
Yeah.
There is a better way to do business and an easier way. Like, let me support you in that, and then just enjoy the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it, and that's it. I don't know if it's with Bitwise. It was very much a build, scale, exit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like, I don't think I ever want to exit. Like, I think it's an opportunity to continue to scale, but still keep it super simple, simplistic, streamlined, basic. But the reason why I do it, though, honestly, is for brokers and agents.
You want to serve, though. I mean,
do. I have a gift giving of service. I have an act of service. I love it.
And you're great at it.
And so, thank you. So we'll see where it goes. I'm excited. We're only 6 months old, and we're thriving.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
So how's the audience, FyrstUp, I'm sure it's got its website. I know that you and Jared have their podcast, Jared James Podcast.
Yeah, Jared James Today. FyrstUp is FYRSTUP. So FyrstUp is a broker solution. It's not available for agents.
Okay.
So agents can't call us and be like, hey, I want to use your service.
Right.
It has to
But they
be
can notify
adopted
their
from the top.
broker.
Absolutely.
And then brokers who are watching can get a hold of you guys and check you out.
Yeah, so definitely check us out. Jared James Today, I think, is a podcast. He's going to kill me if I got it wrong.
I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
Hopefully one day he'll jump on.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed today. Thanks for stopping by.